Hello, I'm Roberta Winters, past president of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township. Spring is in the air, and that's a time when many in Radnor and elsewhere have been dreaming about. That's about gardening time, the highlight of their year. Now, this is also a time when it's a primary election season, and I hope you'll be considering that as the days move forward. In addition to promoting civic education and providing information that's nonpartisan about the elections and about candidates, the League of Women Voters also has positions. Those positions are based upon study and consensus by League members at a local, state, and national level. One of these positions has to do with climate change, and that's why we're here today to talk about composting. We have a national position on climate change that we in Radnor believe is more of a climate emergency. Let me read what the national position is for you. The League believes that climate change is a serious threat facing our nation and planet. The League believes that an international approach to combating climate change, including through energy conservation, air pollution controls, building resilience, and promotion of renewable resources, is necessary to protect public health and defend the overall integrity of the global ecosystem. The League supports climate goals and policies that are consistent with the best available climate science and that will ensure a stable climate system for future generations. Individuals, communities, and governments must continue to address this issue while considering the ramifications of their decisions at all levels, local, state, and national. This position is particularly important to young people because they are our future. With me today is one of our Radnor High School interns who worked with me this summer. She used her vacation time to find out more about composting, one of the many ways we as individuals can help mitigate climate change. It's my pleasure today to introduce Cate Seminaro, who will share what she's learned about composting. Welcome, Cate. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Roberta. And my name is Cate Seminaro. I'm a junior at Radnor High School, and I'm also co-president of Action Earth, which is the environmental club at the high school. And it's been amazing starting this year running it. And this past week, we actually held a clothing drive, which went really well, and we're really excited to recycle that clothing. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to talk about composting.
Well, how did you ever get interested in composting, Cate?
Well, I mean, I've always heard about the term composting, and of course, as someone who's always cared about sustainability, it was when I got to do the internship with you, it was so exciting, and I got to really focus the whole summer on composting and actually doing it myself, and my family still does it. So yeah, I mean, composting is an amazing way to take action at home and just to really think about how you can limit your own negative impact on the environment. So it was so exciting when I got to do it with you and learn so much about it.
Well, just how does composting work anyway?
Okay, so it's a really simple process. So there's greens and browns. So the greens are all your wet materials. So that's like the grass, the food waste, the vegetables. And then the browns are your dry materials. So like all your dried leaves or mulch or anything. And you want to have a 3-to-1 ratio, which is really important. So for every 3 scoops of browns, which is your dry, to 1 scoop of greens. So yeah, and then you just keep mixing it and keeping the airflow, and yeah.
And so so show me what you learned at Skunk Hollow, for example.
Okay, so Skunk Hollow was really exciting for me because I didn't even completely know it existed. It's right behind the Willows, as you know, you've been a million times. And Francis D. Roos showed me around, and he is so knowledgeable about everything to do with gardening. And when he showed me his composting system, it was so cool because I've never seen like a community level for composting, and it was amazing. And I got to see their little setup. So they have, they split it up by wooden panels, and it's like the greens, the browns, which I just described, and then the ready compost. And community members can take it home and use it for the garden at the Willows. And yeah, it was so cool.
So Skunk Hollow is where they have this community garden, which is really an organic kind of place, where they not only grow things, but actually compost and create new soil.
Exactly, yeah.
How do you know if composting is really working, though? I mean, you saw those piles. I mean, how do you know that the process is really going on?
So something that's really important is the temperature. And when I was at Skunk Hollow, I got to touch it. And when it's warm, you know it's really working, because that means the energy, and you know you've been doing it right by mixing it with the airflow and everything. So yeah.
I think when we went to another place, they actually had a thermometer they stuck in to see if it was at the right temperature.
That was, we're going to talk about that more, but Limbilla, they keep the temperature because there's so much compost. They want to make sure that they're doing it right, because they're going to give it back to people.
Did you learn anything else about Skunk Hollow while you were there, other than that community garden?
Yes, I did. So I had no idea, but all of the Christmas trees that you leave out on the street, they get taken to Skunk Hollow, and there's like a humongous pile of compost, which is like all of the old Christmas trees that decompose. And community members, that's where all their mulch is distributed from.
I think they also take the leaves that they pick up from the streets too, don't they? And they add that to the Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big pile.
It's a huge pile. I had no idea that's where it was all done. Yeah.
And I know I could go to like Tennell Field, and I know there are other places in the township where you can go and pick up your own compost. You just put the shovel in and put it in piles and bags, whatever you've got, and you take it home, and it's all free. But I didn't realize all that was coming from Skunk Hollow either.
My family, we do our own mulch, like we put it in our yard, and I know, like, we always get a big pile each year. So I was like so confused when I found out it came from there, because I thought it was from like a bigger place in Pennsylvania. So yeah, right in Radnor.
Well, I know that in addition to doing the community composting in the garden and the township composting at Skunk Hollow with those big piles of leaves, people do composting in their own backyards. And I think you met Tom Schrodenbach. And he talked to you about that. You want to talk about your experience there? Because it's really remarkable.
Oh yeah, so Tom Schrodenbach is amazing. And his whole backyard is like the sanctuary of like all these different plants. He plants everything under the sun. So there's like tomatoes, and especially the tomatoes. He let me try some of his tomatoes. He has a pool, and I got to talk with him about everything, and learning it and seeing his compost, of course, that was like the main thing. It was like something that I've never seen before, because you can just tell he's been doing it for years. It was like this huge pile, and it was surrounded by wood, which is a very common thing to do. And yeah, he told me how simple it was. All he did was, him and his wife, he dropped off any of their food scraps and just turned it over time. And he said it was barely any work, and he got a lot from it because he put it all over his yard. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Well, you know, a lot of people are hands-on people and don't mind turning over the leaves and throwing out the food scraps.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, some of us are a little busy.
Right.
So tend to be one of those busy people. So are there any options for busy people who don't have like a big yard to compost in, or don't want, something smelly in the back or something?
Yeah, the thing with compost, there's so many options. And one of them is Mother Compost, which is a woman-owned business. And you can just, it's like a online company, and they drop off buckets for you. You get to figure out how many buckets you think your family would need. There's like an online quiz, I think. And then you just fill up your own scraps in the bucket, and then they pick it up for you. So it's a really simple process, and it is money, but it's totally worth it because they actually give you back your compost. So yeah. So
these women, I think, pick up your bucket of compost scraps, let's call them food scraps, and waste from the kitchen table, the potato peelings, whatever you've got. And then they put it in a truck. Where does it go when they take it in this truck?
So we got to visit there, Limbilla Orchards, which is an amazing industrial area. And so Villanova actually drops off stuff there. And of course, Mother Compost, that's where they do all of their composting. And it was really cool to visit there. We got to see, what was it called? The gift shop area.
Oh yeah, they have a gift shop area. And they sell vegetables and fruits there as well.
Yeah, it was amazing. And getting to talk with Chris and ask him all these questions, he showed me everything I would need to know about the industrial level of composting, so that was really cool.
And they don't just use a shovel, do they?
No, they have trucks and there's fields, and you can really tell that it's the largest scale composting that there is, I think.
And people come there to buy composted soil.
Right.
So if you wanted to buy good soil, they distribute it to other places too. So I think they had landscapers bringing their leaf and grass cuttings there. And then that's part of the whole process. So they've got trucks coming in with the food waste and green scraps, and then they've got trucks coming in and picking up the compost. It was just
always busy. They're doing some good stuff over there.
And I think the other thing they showed us is they would have to do things like making sure they've turned that compost piles over to make sure the animals don't get into it.
Right.
Because I think they said sometimes animals smell the food waste and go after them.
Yeah, and it was also, I remember it was on a slanted hill, so that way it could drain, which sounds odd, but it's really important with composting, just to keep everything healthy and make sure you get the best compost possible.
Well, do you think composting is going to catch on in this area, Cate, or is this just something, these green people do,
I know that Swarthmore is really good about composting. Radnor High School, I'm trying to push the cafeteria to get onto composting because that would make a big difference. Recently in the cafeteria, the fruit used to be covered in plastic, but that changed, so that's exciting. So, yeah.
Well, I know some private schools in the area are also doing some composting. We've learned about that besides the colleges and universities because, it's a way to teach kids at an early age, even in the elementary schools, to separate their food scraps from things that are recyclable in terms of the paper and things that are literally trash, like the plastic wrap or whatever they have on the apples. Now, I know that Delaware County is really keyed into composting because it's a way to help eliminate some of our waste. And we actually have a new person that they've appointed to handle sustainability in Delaware County. And one of the remarkable things is they put the sustainability manager in supervising 4 or 5 other different groups, because in order to really work on sustainability, it takes a lot of integrated effort to do it and make it work right. And I know the League did a program out in the central Delaware County, and you can actually watch and learn more about the sustainability efforts that are going on in the county. But amazingly, Radnor also has appointed a part-time person to sustainability. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, Melissa Kahn, which is really exciting because I think having someone specific for leadership will just help push things forward. And also I heard that there's going to be new electric charging stations in Radnor. I think there's going to be 2 new stations. So that's another good thing. And that Melissa told us that, the green team. So that's really exciting.
Well, that's great. So what I want to know, Cate, you think this is going to be the thing of the future, maybe?
Definitely. I think even though it can be a little bit of work, or it can be no work if you do something like mother composting, it should become more and more obvious as an amazing, one of the most impactful things you can do at home. So, yeah.
I remember that movie, Back to the Future. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, of course.
What happened? Do you remember how the guy...
isn't it DeLorean?
Yeah, they have a DeLorean.
Yeah, and he takes the family's food waste and he uses it for energy. So, that definitely seems like the future, and taking food waste as a way to turn it into something positive is definitely where we're going, I hope.
And I think they actually had some students build a car that actually worked that way out in California, but I haven't seen one around here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I would love to see that.
Well, I think that's the kind of creative thinking we need in order to help all this doom and gloom predictions about the future that I'm sure you've seen and know all about, so that we can maybe provide a better future than we might anticipate at this moment. Well, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township, Cate, I really appreciate you being a volunteer intern with me this summer and teaching me and yourself a lot more about composting than we ever knew before.
Thank you so much, Roberta.
And I think also we hope that there'll be more interns this summer with me, and I hope you'll encourage other students to join again and work to pursue their passions and hopefully learn during their free time this summer in different ways than they do in front of a computer or behind a desk.
Oh, yeah.
Now, interns just like you are always invited as students to join the League of Women Voters for free. It's a real bargain. So we hope anybody who is interested can go to our website, lwvradnor.org, to sign up and also contact us if they would like to be an intern this summer. It's really been a privilege learning with you, and I want to thank you for sharing with us today. And as always, we continue to appreciate the dedication and support of MLTV Mainline Network. That keeps you as community members informed about issues like composting that are of growing importance to you and your neighbors. And we are also grateful to you, our audience, for tuning in today. And it would be remiss if I did not remind you that there are 2 elections every year, and the primary election is coming up in May. We hope you will go to Vote 411, like my pin, and also check out what you need to know about the upcoming primary election. You must be registered as a Republican or a Democrat in order to choose those candidates you want to see on the ballot in November. So again, thank you for tuning in, and hope composting will be a key to our future. Thank you.